Thanks for joining me again. Now today, this is one that's I've had loads of requests for, and it's all about rear brakes. This is the 107, the Aygo, the C1, 108, all the CityBug vehicles. Brake shoes are pretty much a muchness on all of these cars. On any car, they're a very, very similar setup. You know, you've got your brake drum, you've got some linings, some brake linings, and all they do is sit inside the drum in such a manner as that when you press the brake pedal, it just pushes them out. They make contact with the inside of the drum and stop the car. Just friction against the lining against the drum, job's a good one. What I'm going to do here is just run through the details of it. A real close-up on the assembly, how it goes in. We're doing the job. I'll show you the job coming off, taking the brake shoes off the car, putting them back on again. But there's loads of little... There's loads. There's not loads. I don't want to make this harder than it is. It is quite an easy job if you just know where the springs go. That's it. So I'm going to show you a real close-up of the spring layout and how it all works. The adjuster. Let's get in there. Too much talking. Let's get stuck in. Let's get it up in the air. So yeah, we get the pit jack under it and just get it up, and we can whip the wheels off. So we're up. 17mm nuts on this one. Alright, let's get this drum off to start with. Let's go with that. Oh no. Sheared me a bit off, look. Bugger. Come on, to the end's clean off it. Second time lucky, I've got a 3/8 adapter with a bigger bit in it. Let's give this one a go. It's going to shift it, this is, I know it is. Oh, she's a tight one. Gotcha. That played hard to get, didn't it? There we have the brake drum screw, and it's a TX30. The one I've just broke was actually a snap-on one. Here's a good set on Amazon. They'll do the job, pretty tough and good. Slip that drum off. So one thing we've got to say is the drum is quite an integral part of this whole process. Wear on the drum, what's good, what's bad. Now, with these drums, they very, very rarely wear out. I've seen these, well, the blue Aygo that we've done loads of work on the videos, 160,000 miles, still on the original set of brake drums, and they're not worn at all. They take very little wear. All the work's done by the front. The back brakes don't do a great deal at all. There is a maximum wear diameter that's 201mm, but very seldomly check it. We just look for the lip. If you look at this material inside here, this edge is chamfered in. It's got a little chamfer on it. If there's a lip where the brake shoes have been rubbing and wearing this inner drum out, if there's a lip there, you can just grind it off, because you need this to be smooth. This needs to be as smooth. When you slide the drum onto the car and it slips over the brake linings, it's got to be smooth. If there's a lip there, you'll get them on, it'll adjust up and you won't be able to get the drum off. It'll stick. So if yours have worn and they've been on there a long while and you're really struggling to get the drum off, that's probably why, because there's a lip inside there. So what we need to do is get rid of the lip. How do you do that? Dead easy. These little wheelie kit things, dead cheap, like 15 quid I think it was, off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. So if you've got the lip on the edge there, you're just going to get that. If your brake shoes have worn down to the metal and it's actually scored up this drum, then you will have to replace it if it's bad. You can see how that is cleaning that up really, really nicely there. Just getting rid of that lip off the edge if there was, and it does it quick. It's quite an abrasive bit of kit. It will soon whip a lip off there and clean it up. That's all you're looking for, just the lip on the edge. You don't need to actually touch the main material, just the lip on the edge. Whiz it off with one of these grinding wheels. These are good to go. Yeah, I'll be most surprised if you ever wear a set of drums out. Let's get stuck into the good stuff. Let me bring you in close up. Finger on the back, push, twist, pop the spring out. That's safe. Same with this side. Finger on the back, push, twist. The spring comes away. It's just a little clip. Shoes are loose. Get your pliers. Pull. Away it comes. Feed that spring out the bottom. That way up. Sometimes if these are no good, you can use a pair of side cutters on these springs to really get hold of it and pull it, and it makes it a lot easier. So this one's the next one, it's the little one. And then you've got this top spring, so I can grab it here and then just pull it out. Okay? So that's that one. Oops, I just dropped that down, but anyway. So that's going to sit in there. We can leave this attached to that for now. All we've got to do is release this handbrake. So again, with your side cutters, you put it into the spring gently, push the spring, hold that, push the spring back, bite it so it grabs hold of it, and then you can pull that out of there and then let go and it comes back. There's your brake shoe out, and that's that way round, look. But that's safe. So if you were putting some new brake shoes in, the only thing you're going to do here is just release that by pulling it out like that. That spring there comes out like that, and your new brake shoes up comes complete. So we put it back in again, we just hook that back in there and then just pull that and drop it back into that, into where it come from there, like that. I'll pop another link in the description for some new brake shoes on Amazon. Right, so this is your brake drum brake shoe assembly. This is what you get. So as you can see there, at the top, you've got the adjuster bar there. This is the adjuster bar, and there's a threaded wheel just here. On the back of the threaded wheel, there's the self-adjusting lock. So you've got the bottom spring goes between those 2 points there. You've got the top spring goes from the adjuster bar into the end of that shoe there at the top. The top spring goes from the top 2 points there all the way across the top of the adjuster bar, and then you've got the little lock spring there, which is for the self-adjuster, which holds this little threaded bar against this shoe here, and that clips into there. So as far as all of that goes, oh, and the one bit that you'll probably want to see, which is easy to get put in the wrong way around, is this little bar here. What that does, it presses this flexible plate at the back, this spring plate, which works the adjuster. So I'll show you how it all works. We'll go through it all. Let's get rid of this top spring so it doesn't keep pinging back up like that. Again, undoing these springs on the car, the easiest thing to use is a pair of side cutters, because you can really grab hold of these springs. You can pinch them and pull them. If you're using pliers, the pliers tend to slip. Let me see if I can just get this one out without it twazzing on me. It's a bit odd because it's not actually attached to the car, so it's probably more difficult doing it like this than it is on the car. If I can get in there and just pull that back. Oh, it's tight now. This is fun, isn't it? Oh, we love messing about. Oh. Cool, somebody's not had the spinach. Oh, there we go. That's out of there. Okay. Righty. Now you can see how the adjuster's separated there. So let's pop that out of there. Let's put that up there. This is your wheel cylinder. This sits in there on the car. It's obviously that way up, but it sits in the gap between the two shoes. This is fixed at the bottom. As you press your brake pedal, it forces out the pistons on the cylinder, which makes the brake shoes move apart and squeeze into the inside of the drum, putting your brakes on. So as you can see, every time you put your foot pedal on, every time you press your foot brake, it pushes these apart, which forces a gap in that adjuster there. Now then, because it's got the spring plate on the back, if it goes out far enough, it'll click and move that wheel. See how the wheel's turning? That's the adjuster slowly turning and self-adjusting these shoes into the size of the drum until it'll get to a point where it's only moving backwards and forwards a little bit, and it won't turn anymore. So when it gets to a point there, it'll turn and adjust the shoes out slightly. So that's how the self-adjuster works. The handbrake is on a very similar, it's on this lever arm. It's a similar thing. It just, as this lever arm moves apart, this spring is the one that's actually pulling the handbrake arm back. So as you pull the handbrake on, it pulls, the cable's attached to this arm at the bottom, and all it's doing is just making that, pushing that gap bigger there and forcing that onto the inside of the drum. So again, really, really simple stuff. Really, really simple. Keep your eye out for this little pivot at the top. Make sure it's not seized up. That'll give you your poor handbrake efficiency. You can drop some lubricant on that and just work it, and it will free off. But yeah, it's one thing to look out for. Let me show you a close-up of this. So when we take this spring off of here, you see that, all right? So we pop that spring out of there. We'll take the spring out back in shot again. We'll take the spring away from the bottom, and now your brake shoes are separated. So what you've got is a leading edge and a trailing edge, which depends on wheel rotation. Is it rotating left or right? Depending on what side of the car you're on, as the wheel rotates, you've got a leading edge here that's going to take the brunt of the wear. And you can see what I mean by this. This one here is a worn shoe, and they'll always wear uneven. They wear more on the leading edge than they do on the trailing edge. So you'll find that one shoe is worn down a lot and the other one isn't. And the one that's worn will be worn more on the leading edge of its shoe. So yeah, does that make sense? You can see there, this one here is worn out more at the top than it is at the bottom. So don't be worried when you take it apart. If one of your shoes is worn down and the other side isn't, you don't think, oh, it's not working properly. That's how they're supposed to be. So that's nothing to worry about. So let's move into this little adjuster here. The adjuster, the dreaded adjuster. If we pull that apart, all you've got is a threaded bar, spring on it. You've then got this little, the spring plate at the bottom with that there. That has to go in behind that spring plate, and that's what works this action, which causes it to adjust in and out on the little adjusting wheel there. So when you put a new set of brake shoes in, this, because your old shoes are worn, this will be right out. It'll be right out like that somewhere. So if you put new shoes in, you really need to wind this back, pop it in, pop your new shoes in, and then using a screwdriver, you just need to pull it down and just adjust it up. Keep putting the brake drum back on, turning it until it goes tight. Lovely. The other thing that you've really got to be careful of, when you put your new brake shoes in, you need to make sure that this little noggin here, when the handbrake is off, that is going all the way back. We want this fully retracted once we've got it in. We want to make sure that that is touching the shoe and that the handbrake is fully off. If that isn't going all the way back, you need to wind off your handbrake adjuster on the handbrake lever. Behind the handbrake lever, I've got a video on that. I'll put a link in the description. So adjust your handbrake right back till that's off. Adjust your shoes right up so that they're fully adjusted, and then readjust the handbrake. If that's touching there when it's all the handbrake cable's attached, you don't need to worry about adjusting the handbrake unless you've got too many clicks on the lever. I think we've about covered it all as far as that goes. When you're looking at the when you've got your brake shoes off, you really want to have a little look inside here. You just peel back these rubbers, and you want to make sure there's no fluid in there. You need to make sure that this cylinder's not leaking. So you literally just pull those back and have a look inside there. If there's fluid in there, you know that this cylinder's had it. Again, the other side, you pull that back and look in there, and they're dry. Obviously, because it's off the car, but if it had fluid in it. Now, this one does have a problem. We've got that side works as it should. It moves. This side, seized solid. Doesn't move at all. That's why this one's had it, and I've took it off. But that's something you've got to look out for again. This should move equally both sides. This one's had it. That's seized up. So chuck it away, get a new one. Not worth repairing them really. These are about a tenner. So I'll put a link in the description again for all the parts that you might need if you're doing this job. Now we're going to pull that spring back and pinch it so we can get the shoe on. We'll just feed that back into the shoe clip and feed it round. Now we're going to put this top spring in first, so just feed that in. Using the pliers, we'll just pull the little spring across and clip it in. Locate it just behind, pull it into place, then we'll get the bottom spring and just feed that back in again, keeping everything forward till we've got all them springs in place. Get your head out of the way, look, blocking the camera. Now we'll put the little clip through the back, feed it through the hole in the shoe. We'll put the spring over the top of that, and then holding it with your finger at the back, you can push the clip over the top in a pair of pliers, twist it round, and it'll hold that shoe in place. Can be fiddler. These are always fiddler. There's no two ways about it. Brake shoes are a bit fiddler, but you know, they're doable. They really are doable, especially if you can see pictures like this where you can actually see how it's laid out. It just gives you a better idea as to what to do. So once we've got that is in place now, put the clip through the back and we'll pin that side in as well. If you struggle with pliers putting these on, you can buy a little tool that's specific for the job that does make life a bit easier. Fiddler, but we'll get there. Yeah, it's there somewhere. Just make sure it's the right way up. Now, I don't know if you got a really good look at this when it was on the job. So let's have another look at this. These come through the back of the back plate of the car and up through the hole in the shoe. The spring goes on the top of that, and then this goes over the top of that. Now, as you can see, it's got an elongated hole in it, and the clip has got an arrowhead on it. And it's as simple as you just got to get it over. You compress in the spring, turning it, and then it comes up and it hits into that little groove there, and it won't come off. It's locked. If you want to get it off, you push it down, you turn it, and you lift it off. Simple as. If you do happen to lose a spring or a clip, I'll put a link in the description for some new ones. If you want to put a bit of lube behind the brake shoes where they touch the back plate, you can do. It's not essential, but you could just put a little bit on there. Might stop a squeak that you might get, but it's like I say, it's not really necessary. And there it is, that's that in place there. Now you can just give them a tap and just centralise them, make sure that they're all central before you put the drum on the top. You'll soon get the feel of it when you put the drum over the top of it. You'll know where's it, you know, that it's not sitting quite straight, not in line. We don't have to do the adjuster on this because we're putting them back on exactly how they came off. If you'd replace these shoes, you'd have to wind the adjuster back slightly. But that's all good and clean, and then we'll just slide the drum on the top. Ideally, we just want this to be slightly rubbing, just slightly when we turn it. That's what we're hoping for. Just a small amount of friction there, then we know that they are almost adjusted up correctly. So if there's no friction, it's not right. If there's a little bit, it's perfect. We'll just get that centralised now, so we can get that little retaining bolt back in again. We just put that in just to slide it so that it lines up spot on. Put the little retaining clip in there, screw that in, and that's your brake assembly finished. Weren't too painful, was it? Lovely. Same with the other side, spin that up. Oh dear, unlucky for some, we've got to put the old wheels back on again because them new ones were damaged, and yeah, I don't know if I can get another one or try and get it fixed somewhere else. I'm not sure, we'll see. But old wheels back on, and let's get it down on the deck. Let's just check on this brake fluid again, make sure that it's up to the top of that, well, up to the maximum anyway. Just whip the cap off and have a look. We'll just need to top that up slightly. Bit of .4 brake fluid going in. Be really careful, if you spill any, make sure you clean it up because it does take the paint off. It will just lift the paintwork. But yeah, up to maximum, put the lid back on. Quick wipe round, lovely. So there it is. That is the brake shoes. There's not a great deal to them. They are quite simple. It's just a few springs and a bit of brake material. Dead easy to do. You've got to fiddle about a little bit just to squeeze the springs in and out. Need a bit of strength, and I say use a pair of side cutters rather than a pair of pliers, and it will save you a lot of slipping off, catching and cutting your hands on springs. These springs, I mean, I've done it myself many times. Pulled a spring, it's pinged and it's caught my finger and cut me. They are quite sharp when they got a bit of ping behind them, but you know, be careful. Side cutters, you'll be fine, absolutely fine. Yeah, so there it is. We're all good to go. If it's been of use to you, if you've enjoyed it, if you've learnt something, drop me some comments, drop me a little thumbs up, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.